as characteristic of this government. But before I go further, I just like to say that both both Rose and yourself made references to a topic which I did last week when I talked about becoming a nation of beggars. This emphasis on philanthropy.
Yes, I
I
remember
only
that.
I was watching the news tonight before he came on the show, and
Hmm.
I saw that yet another nursery school has been opened named Maria Holder Trust Nursery School. I mean,
Wow.
they
Wow.
have more branches in school now than Chaffet all over Barbados. So
Wow.
I thought that all institutions were supposed to reflect the culture and history, but we're not being rebranded by these so-called philanthropists, etc. And we are losing our identity. But the poverty reflects that very same thing that
Hmm.
we are no longer able to pay our way in education like we used to.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not only that, but education, which used to be one of the cornerstone of the Barbadian personality and society,
Hmm.
has gone to the dogs. Really, really. When you enter, people are leaving school after high school and can't read, write their name, can't read and write. That is an indictment on the
Hmm.
whole system. We
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
never, I've said before, we should have intervened long ago.
Hmm. Hmm.
To allow that thing to fester. No, you have to uproot it and deflect it. So
Yes. Yes. Absolutely
we have a
correct.
long way to go. But
Yes. A lot
it
to
was interesting.
achieve.
Yeah, yeah. But we should stay
Yes.
focused. But right now, I'm not even sure that what I'm seeing and hearing is reflecting what is coming off the Barbadian thinking and experience and analysis. Because I
Hmm.
see a lot of reference to Columbia School of Education and body doing that. So you might just be importing a program and implementing it, uh, a program from societies that themselves have not distinguished themselves greatly in education.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
but I can go
Yes.
on and on. But that's not my. I leave that to specialists
Right,
like
Rose.
Rose and everything. Yes,
Yes.
yeah. But I don't before I forget. I really like to have a chance tonight to talk about uh, Hurricane Jeanette. I
Oh,
was born.
yes. Yes.
I think I remember Jeanette very well. I remember the morning. And if you and Rose and I'm not sure if Rose is old enough yet to remember Jeanette, but I think we could give the current generation an insight into what our experiences would have been. Uh, I think that might be useful if you have the time.
I was probably in the conception stage.
Woo-hoo-hoo. I was a big I was a big hardback man at that time. I
No,
just
me,
started going.
I wasn't even around.
I just started going to
I
Common
came
Mary.
the year after.
Okay, I just started going to Common Mary.
Uh,
Uh, um, yeah. Okay. Let me get down to my topic per se. I would have said your title called what? A likely national crisis in confidence narrowly avoided. A likely national crisis in confidence narrowly avoided. A crisis in confidence, if I may just use some define early what I'm talking about, means that when there's substantial upheaval in your regard for something in the system, where it's disturbed, you lose confidence, you're not happy with it, and when you and, um, and, when you barely when you narrowly avoid it is when you're dealing with a topic that is disturbing, wrong, upsetting, and you barely miss it. In other words, Barbados dodged the bullet. That's what I'm talking about. We dodged the
mhm,
bullet in this
mhm,
instance. And I talk about national institution. And that is, first of all, an institution, every society to function probably has to have certain institutions to provide the services that to satisfy their needs, build a society, etc. So all commonplace ones are the economy, education, the family, religion, and government or politics. All have that. My one today I'm talking about has to do with politics and government. All right, and an institution is supposed to provide an organized, systematic, structured system providing what you want in that particular area of your life. That is what they're for. They're supposed to be stable, predictable, established, respect because they are vital to And without them, the society, that's why we are, that's why we are having certain social problems there, because the education is one of the prime areas of the
Yes.
prime institution, and that has not been functioning for it. So we are paying the results for that in itself underlines the importance of having a well functioning institution. And and what I'm talking about tonight is what I'm referring to, something that might have not been really considered because of the way it was handled and the way it came out. I'm talking about the announcement of the new president for Barbados,
Mhm.
where Colonel Jeffrey Bostick was was chosen to be the next president of Barbados. Um, it was announced in the House Assembly a couple of Tuesdays ago, or last Tuesday it was, last Tuesday.
I
That,
think it was. I think it was
that
last
yeah,
Tuesday.
it was that the Prime Minister Motley, and leader of opposition, Mr. Ralph Thorne, had agreed among themselves as to who should be the president. Had agreed on a person. Now, to agree, it means that person other it might have been had to be a choice. A choice is implied. But before we talk about that, let me talk about the importance of the presidency as an institution. The presidency is as much to Barbados. A presidency is supposed is the pinnacle of political and administrative life and national life. The presidency, the office, not so much the office and what it represents in Barbados. It's a symbol of Barbados in the same way we have a flag, a national anthem. Those are themselves are symbols. So the symbol of the presidency that is supposed to represent all the best and symbolize all the excellence we look up to, we are inspired by. It contains our aspirations, our dreams, our hopes, right? That's what the presidency is supposed to represent in national life. And and I was therefore concerned that so, had it not been for circumstances, we might have done damage to the presidency at a time when we're still a republic struggling to establish our bona fides
A
of
baby republic.
republicanism because the way that
Yeah.
was mishandled. I mean,
Yes.
it should be an embarrassment to anybody that you have a republic where you don't have a republican devised organic constitution
Constitution.
out of the
Yes.
bellies of the stuff. And you know and what so the way that was handled or mishandled reminds me, and I hope to get back to this later on tonight, of the way we've handled this October the 1st. I have a special comment on it for the free movement of travel. That has been mishandled, if it was handled at all. No information, the society is in the dark, uh, how we're going to function. All we're doing is sowing seeds for dissatisfaction and suspicion and public resentment of persons who, through no fault of their own, are here to be invited and made possible, but there was no preparatory system in place early enough to involve the community, educate the community as to what the
Right.
implications are. Right, and
Right.
remember the same thing happened with the republic.
Hmm.
So I am told that given the prominence and importance of the presidency,
Hmm.
uh, and the presidency that you would know would replace governor general,
Yes.
who who,
Yes.
who except for right, who did the same thing that the president is supposed to or has done so far, given that we already have a president going on. But the truth is that there was a choice. I'm told from very good authority that there was a choice between Mr. Bostic for president and Senator Elizabeth Thompson, right? And I'm horrified that had not Mr. Bostic, had not Mr. Thorne again intervened on the behalf of the institutions and democracy and stability of our institution. If 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 it had been chosen for Thomas Thompson, because I will tell you why I say that later. So I want to thank Mr. Thorne for once again
Yes.
stepping into the breach. He did it just
Yes.
like Joe Athley did, step cross the line became leader of the opposition
Yes.
because he had to perform a national service. I want to thank him again. That while his national duty would have been performed out of sight, out of public, because of the nature of the private consultations with the prime minister, it is still nevertheless still very invaluable, important about it. And
Couldn't
because
agree with you more.
and the reason why he was skeptical, I'm saying if it had to be agreed between them. And I told Mr. Turner the results were showing Mr. Turner opted for Mr. Bostic, Colonel Bostic, over.
We seem to have had a bit of a stall there. Um, I don't know if you're hearing me, Glyne, but you're frozen. Your image is frozen. You might have to go back out and come back in. Um, might have to do that. Rose, maybe we can just chat a little
Okay,
bit about.
are you back there
Okay,
now? Yeah,
yeah, you're back. Yes,
yeah,
yes,
back
you're
there.
back.
Okay,
Yes, we
yeah.
lost. Could you repeat whatever it was you were sharing just now, relative to the consultation with Mr. Thorne?
Yeah, Mr.
If you
Thorne, the
could
Prime
repeat
Minister,
from there on, yes.
under the Constitution, the Prime Minister would have had to consult Mr. Thorne, at least the opposition, to agree on who should be um, should be president. And then I believe,
Yes,
and they agreed on Mr. Colonel
Mr.
Bostic
Bostic.
over and
Yes, Colonel
above
Bostic.
Mr. I think it's it's a, it's a decision that can only benefit Barbados. And the reason I say so is that I do not think that, given even the profile and history of Sandra Thompson, that she would have been. That is really. I think that had it been her, I'm sure that would have created a crisis of confidence because of her track record, her
Absolutely,
profile
absolutely.
in Barbados. And I
Yes,
mean, she's obviously a person of intellect, of ability, a great communicator, but she's always been flawed by judgments made, statements made, decisions made. Take all right. So that has been a flaw. Even when her ministerial portfolio has been checkered by controversies. I don't have to
hmm,
rekindle how
yeah,
Prime Minister
yeah,
after
yeah.
describe her. I think the public understands well enough. Even her lack of judgment, to my mind,
But you know,
came up.
Decline, one of the major areas with her is her attitude.
Right,
You talk about being a great communicator, but when one has a nasty attitude, when one is disingenuous in their presentation and speech to others, even to those who are your opponents, that doesn't augur well for you.
agreed. And that attitude, that unsavory attitude,
Yes, that's a
uh,
good
uh,
word, unsavory.
and was demonstrated in the St. James North
Oh,
by election in
yes.
May.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
and some of her salacious, another one of her salacious speeches went down, and it just fell into her norm. I mean, she's a good communicator. She's good with words, but when she's ready, she could use her tongue like a machete or a cutlass,
Oh,
right?
yes. Oh,
Not
yes.
to cut canes or whatever, but
But to
attack people
yeah,
or whatnot.
attack people. And,
So so
and my, my, con- and
even
my concern there, sorry to cross you, but my concern there, as a fellow minister of religion, because she's supposed to be an ordained minister, I believe, in the Methodist Church, if my mind serves me
right,
correctly. And
that's right,
when one considers the kind of deportment a minister needs to carry, as is described in the scripture, I am horrified. I am horrified at the representation that I see coming forth, as a person who is supposed to represent leaders in the church. Sorry, but I had
no,
to say that. I had to say
but
that.
apart from that, her most recent, she's been a minister, she had minister for the Barbados. She's represented Barbados at the United Nations. She's worked as an international public servant for UN. She's done well in that regard. But even it should have been brought back to Barbados, um, I am told to help out to put some political beef and fire in the Senate because it was lacking. The political muscle was lacking in the government's representation on the Senate. But even she came out and is deputy president of the Senate. But even that deputy president of the Senate, one did not see any improvement, any change in
No,
attitude. It was more
no,
of the same.
none
So
whatsoever.
so there was nothing that would prepare the public. The public would have been in shock if she had become
Could believe that.
president of Barbados, and it might have therefore disillusioned people further in the role of presidency, given the way it's come about. I mean, the incumbent president has handled it require aplomb and dignity and whatnot. But still,
Yes.
if for a young institution, if it suffers too many attacks and undermining, people begin to downgrade it and it loses its prestige and power and influence. And when it should be nurtured and cultivated to grow to the strength that the country would need of it. But but I thought it very interesting that the prime minister who would have made the suggestion would merely put forward to and would have um, put forward Santa Thompson. But then they have been great allies for many years, political allies. And that is another story. I don't want to get into that kind of story tonight. There's some stories about that which I will explain. Uh, but I thought that the prime minister, unless she's been out of the country so, unless she's not in touch with public view, it says, I don't know if the prime minister was they're trying to think by proposing, by reporting letting Miss Thompson and the two, right? Because certainly she must know or hear of her standing in the public, unless it was that because they've been great political buddies for a long time, and she depends on her for political interventions, etc., and work. That she felt she had to try. I had at least said, "Well, I tried to make you president. I tried to make." So that's the only reason, because otherwise, all the optics, all the would have been just around Charlie. But I understand the political imperatives because,
Hmm.
like I said,
Hmm.
the prime minister called her back virtually overnight from what he was told when she was at the United Nations to come back to. Remember, she came back to work in the COVID, and then somebody else was appointed permanent representative. So she's a political heavyweight to the prime minister, right? She has a political, but so there I can understand the prime minister put forward there. But it would have been it would not have done Barbados any good. I think so. They
I
say
believe
so. I say so
that's my
without any ill
opinion.
will. I spent uh, most of my time in cabinet with Miss Santa Thompson, except when she was for a period when she had been dismissed by Mr. Arthur, etc. But then she came back in. I've worked with her, but I think that I have to be fair to Barbados. I'm interested in what because we have not had the best introduction of republicanism in Barbados. I think so, right? And this is something that I've been talked about, and some of the promoters had worked on it and talked for a long time. That was upwards to today until we formulate and devise our own constitution out of our own experience as what we want it to be a public. It can never stand the test. It can never have the respect and authenticity and prestige as it should be. And and therefore, I spent some time talking about what one of the reasons why I would have, if I had a choice, I could not have voted for her. If I had any choice, I would not have supported her becoming president. Is that the truth is when you look back, while being made governor general, no president, has always been cloaked in a background of quite soft politics. All the persons who have been native governors there and then now president in Barbados have never extruded, have never demonstrated, never known to be viciously, avidly, outwardly uh, political in their behaviors in their act, in their mouthings, etc. They've always performed the role with a certain amount of dignity and
Yes.
aplomb.
Yes.
That is a hot track record, all of them. So
Yes.
therefore,
Yes.
in other words,
Yes.
they were cut. They had the characteristics and the attributes that we as a Barbados society would like to see in our highest office. They reflected it in their own way, in their own style, but they reflect. They never undermined it, never tarnished it, and whatnot. They did not try to change, to turn the presidency and what it represents, what it symbolizes, into what they want it to be. They molded themselves into the expectations and the standards of, of the presidency. That's what I say, right? And because to do otherwise, we can undermine it and we can lose it. Because an institution is supposed to endure and long lasting, long into distant time forever if possible. So it's
Hmm.
important to
Hmm.
have it. Right. So, having said that, I have to tell you why I supported Avila, why I understand the public would have supported. I understand why he's been so readily accepted by the public
Hmm.
as president. And it's true, you would know for that. I'm sorry, Dr.
That's right. That's
Nichols,
fine, Glyne.
that.
That's fine, Glyne. My mother christened me that.
But what that one in Barbados is once you peek your head out above the paling about in Barbados and you get a certain prominence in politics, sports, where you become you become target and the
Hmm.
victim of all kind of mean things being said about your rumors.
Yes.
Like, so
Yes. Yes.
nobody know in public life ever had a squeaky clean, exactly perfect life. So perfect public assessment. And people say things, one of the fascinating things about you, further from my experience having when I was in government, a minister, etc. I would hear things about myself that I did not even know. Or people
Same
would
here,
tell
my
me,
friend. Same
people
here.
would tell you, and people say things and people pick it up and repeat it as the gospel truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe because they would wish it to have been so. If it was, and it's usually negative. They
Yes.
never have they never have a lot of positive things to say about it. So maybe it's wishful thinking on their part that negativity spoken about was true and real and for a fact. So therefore, there would have been some. I've heard some both things uh, about questioning the choice of Colonel Bostic, a minority of people, not a strident, not even a strident minority, but because of his political affiliation. And I'm not before. I'm not defending this because, yeah, unlike you and Rose, Rose would not have been eligible at that time. He did not go to common mayor. You refer to the end. I'm not saying because Colonel Boston went to common mayor, but in all honesty, he's brought to the role. He's brought to the role. He's brought to a position, a highly reputable standard performance in the military as one of
Yes.
the most senior men in the
Yes.
country.
Yes.
Right, and that to me was translated into how he performed as Minister of Health,
Hmm.
particularly with COVID. So I don't have to repeat
Yes.
the stellar work he did with programs for which he's been acclaimed and rewarded. I think it's virtually universal. Yeah, accepting Barbara, they would have performed very well in that role.
Hmm.
Okay, and then apart, but that was a political role. But to me, what took the cake in his political role was that despite his success as a minister and his public acclaim, he was prepared to stand his ground on principle. When
Yes.
you remember the
Yes.
infamous attempt to inveigle Barbados into not yeah into a mischievous, notorious, scandalous, um,
That's still being investigated in the U.S.
precisely um, vaccine deal, and he made it folk, and to me in his a characteristic style. He just dismissed it out of a clear, simple line. Not me, don't know, leave me alone, don't put me in that. And that was that. And maybe that might have had something to do with his departure from politics thereafter. He's played his role, but he left with a clean record
Hmm. Hmm.
in that regard. And I think that uh, again, we should thank him for that, for standing his ground, because only nobody knows what would have happened if that deal had if it had gone through the way it was intended to, and he had been
Hmm.
involved. We might have been still paying calamitous prices for it. All right now. So, but so I think he's transferring this. that goodwill from into being president. Now, to me, all the presidents, apart from his, he's a well-trained, highly educated person in his own right, military, so he's had a degree, university, so he's no slouch in that area. He
Hmm.
has what it takes to, so he does not have to be a coach warmer. He has enough ability to get into areas of national. I would like to see get into more national, choosing topics to speak on, to use their prestige, not just on social, not only on social occasions, where people are on issues that will help develop the society, and use their prestige and whatnot to help, and their intellect and their position to help advance certain causes for Barbados in general, nothing partisan. Because when you go to that road, you're supposed to be above partisan politics. But apart from his ability and his intellectual abilities, his career, he also has a certain natural dignity and poise and
Yes.
gravitas. And
Yes.
those elements, in other words, he doesn't look or sound or behave like a rah-rah person, as you would say on the street, right? And those are things that would endear him to part because he's a person to look up to. I would like to be like him, I would like to be like her, etc. And I think that's an important, intangible contribution that he will make. And I look forward to his tenure, his tenure with some anticipation. And I think he can only do well for Barbados. And maybe that's another chapter in a useful life, in a highly contributed life to Barbados. If we may have another couple more minutes, Bertie, how much more minutes?
Yeah, well, I owe you those couple of minutes. So,
You mean a
but no,
Belgian couple, or a
actually,
couple, or you mean a Belgian couple with his several or two?
well, it's the interest. Don't forget, I gave you your minutes, but then you apply the interest. So,
Okay. No, I want to take this
uh,
opportunity to try to figure out why the government, especially the Prime Minister, who has political responsibility as Minister of Finance for the CSME, what was the imperative? What was the necessity of imposing? Imposing. It had not come out of us. We had no role in this October the 1st limited free movement with three other countries. What would have driven it? This is supposed to be a partial step towards the ideal of free movement among the islands. But that has been a dream that goes back before the Federation, which is
yeah,
another story, right? I think this came out of about 1993 uh, Hydro Government Conference, but it has gone through various postponements up to 2023. It was supposed to come into being, and then it was postponed again. And then we heard from we were fortunate to get from the Prime Minister of Jamaica at the last had a government meeting in Jamaica, where our Prime Minister would have given up, would have passed on the baton as Chairman of CARICOM, it rotates every 6 months, that we were part of this deal. And so far, nobody has had courtesy. I've heard more things from Ambassador Commercial trying to justify it. I've heard some other statements from Minister Abraham, but nobody has sat down here and gave us an outline, a print as to what we can expect as a policy, as a system, how these people are to be dealt with in the various ways. It's just supposed to happen, and you follow your way through. I said, but why October the 1st? I was looking for all kind of possible historical antecedents, events that would revolve around October the 1st. Can you or Rose know of anything that is significant about Barbados history that revolves around October the 1st?
none that I can think of, Glyne. Nothing that I can think of.
And I don't believe in coincidences, but I felt that the only reason, for two reasons, the only reason the Prime Minister was born on the 1st of October, 1965.
Really, really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And she will be 60, and she will be 60 this October the 1st. So to my mind, I'm trying to make logic and sense, make sense. Because in the normal run of things in national affairs, it does not really add up. That does not really do anything for Barbados in and of itself. It doesn't guarantee any more exports, more foreign exchange, none whatsoever. So why? So it seems to me that the only thing that you would choose October 1st at short notice is because you probably want to have a grand. I mean, 60 years, the milestone is a significant milestone in Eddie Ron's life, and I would
But,
wish her well in meeting 60.